Some months ago, Ethan Klein, popular entrepreneur, released a content nuke on Hassan Piker. What this is a commentary on the state of LawTube and popular legal commentators on this, our internet. Okay? And you might be wondering also why Asmongold is appearing on the bottom left there. All of this will be explained in time, dear viewer.
Because it blows wide open this case.
So it blows wide open this case. This case, remember, is a simple copyright infringement case.
The damages are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially millions.
Potentially millions of dollars? So that's the first insane take.
Here is the thing that blows this case wide open and can lead to the absolute destruction of Reddit. This could be enough to tear Reddit down.
I don't know if it's gonna get. Obviously, I think this is maybe a little bit hyperbolic, but
when Asmongold is having to rein you in, bro, on every level, it's cringe. On the level of the damages are millions of dollars, it's cringe. On the level of assuming the damages are that much, it would destroy and collapse Reddit, it's cringe. On the level of, well, the doctrine of vicarious liability and negligent hiring is cringe. Why? Because Reddit's not a defendant. On the level of proposing to amend the complaint to include Reddit as a defendant, cringe. And on the level of maybe this is just a joke because the guy's a memer and a troll and member of a snark subreddit. Hey folks, please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to check out my newsletter. Information is in the description. All right, we're here for one purpose and one purpose only. The purpose of this video is to go over a recent set of legal videos, LawTube videos, about the Ethan Klein lawsuit. And it's meant more to demonstrate stuff about the LawTube community here on YouTube and the fact that it's in shambles, at least the popular LawTubers, than it is meant to elucidate information about the lawsuit itself. And you'll see why, but it's worth repeating once again what the lawsuit is about that I'm analyzing. And you might be wondering also why Asmongold is appearing on the bottom left there. All of this will be explained in time, dear viewer. But just know that what this is a commentary on the state of LawTube and popular legal commentators on this, our internet. Okay? So to bring you back to the lawsuit, some months ago, Ethan Klein, popular host and entrepreneur associated with H3 Productions, released a content nuke on Hassan Piker, basically detailing a bunch of negative stuff and history of controversial comments, positions, etc. by Hassan Piker. And he did so with the intention to try to bait some other individuals, this is his story by the way, into reacting to that video, the content nuke, and doing so in a fashion that was copyright infringement that furthermore was unprotected by the doctrine of fair use.
It was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist, they couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I don't have an issue with them.
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would. I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would.
That is how Ethan Klein presented the story. He released a video in conjunction where he states out these purposes in the lawsuit, which include going after a set of creators who he viewed as highly negative towards him and engaged in some kind of bad faith harassment campaign against him, or either contributing to that atmosphere or being directly involved to some capacity. He also included what I thought, this is now me injecting my commentary into it, a bunch of implausible motivations for why he was suing. One of which included the notion that suing the specific content creators at issue, which included Denims, Caseytron, and Frogan, as well as additional parties here of like some unnamed Reddit mods or some where the names were to be discovered later on, which is okay. It's allowed to do that. He basically suggested these lawsuits against these three creators plus the Reddit mods was done also to protect the React community.
Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it. This is not a healthy environment, and with people like Hassan reacting to entire TV shows on stream, my fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field.
And I've made several videos, had several debates about why that is an implausible motive, that it doesn't make sense as a motive, that he would be launching these lawsuits with the expectation that it would protect the React community against lawsuits from Disney and from Sony, which this is a specific reference that he puts in his video. And a theme throughout the video is that this is done basically to enforce a standard on the React community. Incidentally, he did not sue other creators who pretty blatantly violated Ethan Klein's copyright by doing reactions that have basically no additional transformative nature to them, that are using the work in their entirety and fail on all of the factors of the fair use analysis test. The argument but why these creators were different had to do with, well, they stated a malicious intent. And in my previous videos, I've discussed why this is not a convincing argument, in that the factor of transformative content or purpose and character of the work does not turn on subjective intent, that the Supreme Court has pushed against that interpretation of the fair use factors, that it turns on subjective intent, that the preferred doctrine is not this kind of good faith, bad faith assessment, and that the other factors are also, for example, market substitute factor relates to the actual market substitute and not to the intent to be a market substitute. But that at least was what H3 was trying to sell to his audience. And that's where I got involved initially, is by commenting and saying, hey, I think these are pretty strong cases of infringement, but ultimately I don't buy the narrative that this is done to protect the React community for the reasons stated. And I think that the legal filings by H3's lawyers and their TED Entertainment in the lawsuit, that's the party name, that the filings by these attorneys were unhinged. That was my take, and it received a great deal of pushback, even though what I said was, I think, quite clearly true. The reason I bring this up is because it seemed like the lawyers who were commenting on this case, to a man, were pretty, I think, uncalibrated in terms of their legal analysis. Had more to do with, I guess, their vibes and generalities that they're taking from other doctrines of law that don't apply. One person in particular that I think had horrible analysis was this guy, Legal Mindset, who many people were pushing around as this is someone who we should look to for a lot of insights into what's going on in the Ethan Klein case. When we actually take a look at what he was talking about in his videos analyzing this case, he's citing no precedent as he was running through the answer that Denham's gave. This is a filing in response to the initial complaint. He was unhinged in terms of his assessment of the affirmative defenses, in that he was just basically riffing without doing any individualized research on, again, case law, bringing up the kinds of cases that have been successful in the past. The bare minimum that you would expect someone to do when providing legal analysis to their viewers is to, like, hey, this is what will be successful because of this. I've done the research on this area, for example, on the doctrine of implied consent or the doctrine of forfeiture and abandonment. It didn't seem that he was quite so familiar with those doctrines. So the legal analysis, I think, has been substandard, but that hasn't stopped everyone from basically following Legal Mindset's brain dead videos, which are totally infected by, as my viewer says right here, Faith Adams, political bias, etc., where he's letting his feelings about Hassan Piker get involved in his outcome here and what he's determining. As an added example of this bias, he said that Hassan Piker probably violated criminal laws by stating things about Rick Scott, where he was making this point about if you wanted to kill people who were affecting Medicaid or something, you would go after Rick Scott, which is clearly protected speech, which isn't covered by any of these doctrines, as well as other instances potentially of alleged violent rhetoric.
In regards to that, Hassan actually told his audience to go after at least one U.S. senator a few months. Rick Scott, yeah, and that once again, he's very lucky. He's been very lucky with a lot of these things. And then last, the true threat. A true threat is a true call for violence, which, by the way, a lot of what Hassan has said, like when Hassan said, delete them, spill their guts in the street, right? That's pretty much a true threat. He's saying it's hyperbolic, but that's damn close to a true threat. It's definitely incitement. Without a doubt, this is incitement. But is it a true? It's pretty damn close. With the Rick Scott thing, that was really close too to a true threat. So that's impermissible speech. Once again,
which are clearly encompassed and protected by free speech. He wasn't citing any precedent to show that what Hassan Piker's statements were criminal in nature or that they were covered by some exception to the First Amendment. It was shabby analysis all the way down. That said, I'm someone who's fair and balanced, and so whenever there's a new development, I'm going to take a look at the law tubers, what they're saying about this new development, and give it an honest go and see what I think about it. But recently there was this development for the case against the Reddit mods. The Reddit mods were named parties in this lawsuit, the series of lawsuits, and there's essentially some dispute as to like what the employer of these mods are. There's an allegation that one of them is employed by Reddit, and the way the legal community, or I should say some specific LawTube commentators have responded is by giving some of the most insane, unhinged, delusional takes on this and other aspects of the case, acting as though this is some bombshell that is going to threaten the very existence of Reddit. I'm not joking. So I've already seen the legal mindset video, lawful mindset, legal mindset, whatever. And so I figured might as well, so I can get some enjoyment out of this, watch the reaction that Asmongold is giving to a legal mindset video so that I can have some fun, some new content. But in watching this reaction of Asmongold, we'll get through the entirety of the legal mindset video with me offering commentary in between to show really how unhinged this guy is and how insane his assessments really are. And I will start by saying that Asmongold titled his reaction video, "Reddit Broke the Law." That is what Asmongold titled his video. He's accusing Reddit of breaking the law. So note if you see in this video any evidence of that, of Reddit having broken the law, for him to say definitively Reddit broke the law. Lay persons like Asmongold, legally cooked means they're done. Reddit is done. They're totally guilty of something. They totally broke the law about something. So that is the title of the video. And you could say, oh, it's clickbait. Oh, it's clickbait. I mean, you're accusing them of breaking the law, and that's how people are understanding it. And so let's actually see Asmongold's reaction and what Asmongold is interpreting, and also in the process, watching what Legal Mindset has to say about the recent disclosures, again, about the Reddit mods who are also parties to lawsuits. And before, again, I want to stress, so important, that this is a copyright infringement case. This is a simple copyright infringement case. There's an additional theory of liability of the Reddit mods. That's maybe a little bit more complicated in the sense that they're like actively encouraging copyright infringement. But this is an infringement case. I want you to know that. It's an infringement case. And we'll watch. I have not seen Asmongold's reaction. I'm sure this will be entertaining for me. I have seen the Legal Mindset video. Let's go.
One of the snark mods for the Ethan Klein lawsuit said that they worked at Reddit. Oh, man.
Oh,
that's
man.
a bad one, huh?
Reddit is absolutely legally cooked. We're going to get into a bombshell leak that will change everything today on the Legal Mindset.
Yeah, if this is true,
to be your own judge.
I'm going to be shocked.
I can't tell if this is like he's hamming it up. Maybe he is.
All right, so we've been going through the case of Ethan Klein versus the orbiters of Hassan, including the Reddit mods. And in that, we've been looking at what's going on with them and also their legal liability.
Of course.
And we now have
of course. This is how he reacts to videos.
leak, something that was brought to my attention and something that, as far as I know, nobody else may know about this, although Ethan Klein will soon be very, very, very aware of this. And I'm sure his lawyers are going to be very, very interested in this because it blows wide open this case.
So it blows wide open this case. This case, remember, is a simple copyright infringement case. A copyright infringement case. That is the theory of liability here. So he's saying this blows open the case All right, so just keep that in mind.
Again, Ethan Klein suing for copyright infringement, and he has massive power behind that lawsuit because the damages are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars,
a lot of
potentially
money.
millions.
Potentially millions of dollars? So that's the first insane take that one could give. That who in their right mind thinks that the infringement that is allegedly committed by Denim's et al., Denim's Frogren Caseytron, is worth millions of dollars? Are you insane? How possibly could you factor in damages of that amount? Even if they like contributed, let's say the loss of viewership of 5 million, right? Let's say 5 million less people watched the content nuke. If we're talking about actual damage, and if we're talking about statutory damages, it doesn't reach that amount either. So where are you getting this millions of dollars that they are on the hook? That is an insane number. That is a bizarre, unhinged number based on literally nothing. That infringement cost him, actually damaged him millions of dollars, or that it would reach the statutory cap less than $1 million, and at most, right, like. The statutory damages pertain to, at most, 2 infringements. There's one infringement of the content nuke, and then there's one related to a reaction video. So there's just there's no way, there's no plausible argument that Ethan Klein, I know that he might say it in his filings that he suffered billions of dollars of damage. That is so bizarre that you would promote that number. Denim's probably, what was her concurrent viewership there? Millions of dollars? Absolutely wild, absolutely insane that you would say this. This is not a case that's worth that much money. And again, even if you were to take the maximum of statutory damages, I mean, and again, so let's do statutory damages, copyright. It's a 17 USC section 504. The max when you show willful infringement is $150,000. And as far as I'm aware, the infringement, there's only one count of infringement, at most, I think 2. So even if you were to take the max for willful infringement for each one of those, you're below $1 million, and there's no actual plausible way that you're getting to millions of dollars of damage of liability. That is so bizarre. That is so wrong. Not true.
Right, if you look at scope of damages from all of these creators, leaching revenue, leaching potential sponsorships.
He says, potential sponsorships? Leaching potential sponsorships by doing this reaction video? Millions of dollars? Absolutely unhinged, insane.
Etc. Taking his content wholesale, he's got massive liability. There's even potential punitive damages based on the intent.
Punitive damages? No, so it's a willful infringement potentially that you can get additional damages there. And I will stake my credibility on this. If he ever recovers a judgment valued at over $800,000 with respect to every single one of these creators, I'll shave my head and eyebrows. I'll shave everything. Okay? He is not going to recover that much in a judgment. No way, no how, or a settlement. No way, no how.
Right, based on the fact that these people had malicious intent to steal his content.
Ethan,
and again, the malicious intent, we've talked about this before, but he is not at all providing citations for why this is relevant to infringement, why this is relevant to findings for fair use, not actually pointing to that. I think that it's not super relevant at all. Certainly not to the fair use analysis. That subjective mindset is relevant there. As to damages, I can imagine a court, takes into account a lot of things when it comes to damages. But again, even if you show willfulness, which is different from maliciousness and malice in the context of statutory damages, we're talking about a max here of $150,000 per infringement. So we're not getting into the millions. That's insane.
Has to live stream the trial. He has to, bro. Like, please.
So
he shouldn't take it to trial, and the reason is, if what he cares about is making money, his litigation expenses are going to be more than the value of what he's going to get here. He's going to incur more in litigation expenses. I have no. Maybe there is a potential for fee shifting. That's possible. You can get some fee shifted provisions So maybe you get your attorney's fees paid, but I really don't think it makes much sense for you to take this to trial if what you care about is making money.
At that, we had Reddit mods that were in this case, right? Because we obviously know Casey Tron, Denims, Frogan, all of these cast of characters are liable.
Jesus. He just sees the picture of these people and he's like, Jesus.
But the Reddit mods are a big part of this. This is, by the way, totally not AI and totally an accurate photo.
Yeah.
Of a Reddit moderator. I think it's very much real to life. But the Reddit moderator.
I love how he says, yeah, when I'm not going to say it, but look at the surroundings here.
Moderators were hoping to hide. They were hoping to cower
Completely
beyond their,
real, guys.
behind their internet anonymity, right? They have power in the fact that they are anonymous and that nobody knows them and they can reach out and
People that think that they're anonymous on the internet are so stupid. If you have a digital footprint and you're making accounts everywhere, if you think that they can't find you, you're a moron.
say things and do whatever. But now they're being exposed. Now they're being called out and they are terrified. They're absolutely scared that they're going to be exposed in this. And they filed a motion of 700 pages trying to hide from responsibility. Well, that's not going to happen. Their identity is going to come out. And one thing that's been coming out is who these people are exactly. And the big news is that beyond all comprehension, we now have proof that
beyond all comprehension. I don't even know what that means. Beyond all comprehension? So this proof, I take that to mean, is really, really good. It's beyond all comprehension. I can't comprehend it, how much it's proved. Of course you don't know what it means. You can't comprehend it. It's divine. All right, so this is beyond all comprehension. So the proof of this must be really, 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 really good for whatever this is, and it must have massive significance, okay?
Reddit all comprehensively. And the big news is that beyond all comprehension, we now have proof that Reddit is directly tied to these moderators, which are going to be sued. So let's go into.
So what does that even mean? They're directly tied to the moderators? Well, I imagine they're moderators on Reddit. So in some sense, I suppose they're tied. But what do you mean by that? And he'll get into it a little bit. But I just want to be clear. They're tied to Reddit. Yeah, I mean, they're mods on the website Reddit. But what he's trying to prove here is that one of the snark mods is a Reddit employee.
Here,
this is one of the times where all of the conspiracy Andes are vindicated. Everybody that said Reddit's out to
haven't seen anything. He hasn't seen anything yet. And he's like, they're all completely vindicated.
Get him, and it's actually Reddit doing this to him, and it's not organic. The conspiracy Andes win again.
to this.
Wow.
So these are screenshots that were forwarded to me. Now you have one of these individuals here, one of these mods, nicknamed Roman P, who's listed in the lawsuit, right? So we're gonna look at these text messages or these screenshots, which were sent over to me before they were deleted, right? Because once again, they were going back and deleting and sweeping these things up. But now we've got conclusive proof here that kind of nails them in here. So them saying, so he thinks he could sue Asmon and XQC, but he doesn't want to sue them. Why? Surely the reaction videos stole more views from him. Is this kind of admission he doesn't care about any potential financial damage, only about his personal beef? And then some.
What I find to be so funny about this.
But that is true. That is 100% true. The fact that we have XQC and Asmongold who have deeper pockets and arguably much more infringing reactions, that is to say, better cases against them. And I would stand by that with respect to the Denims comparison. And he hasn't gone after them means it's not about financial compensation. And that's why he has to give this like bizarre and ultimately what I think is a lie that he is doing this to protect the React community from Sony and Disney. Because he should just come out and say, I'm doing this because of Malice. And you can imply that by what he says, but he also adds this whole thing about it's the React community. He starts his video that way too. So just don't let anyone gaslight you that the reason why H3 is doing this has nothing to do with protecting the React community.
is that, number one, the entire lawsuit hinged on the fact that these three individuals openly stated that they were doing it in order to make it a market replacement for the product
that has nothing to do with the legal analysis of fair use. And there's no indication whatsoever that any ruling on fair use that would come down from a court in California would turn on the subjective motivations of an individual. There's not any case law that you can cite that subjective intent is important to this market substitution analysis. And there's no evidence that it's important to factor one either, because the Supreme Court, as recent as I think last year in the Warhol case, said that subjective intent does not matter for factor number one. The nature of the copyrighted work doesn't get into subjective intent at all. It's whether it's like creative or factual, and the amount and substantiality, again, is another objective analysis. So there's no indication that one's case turns on whether or not you have subjectively bad motive or not. And it's not predictive in the slightest, even before the Warhol case. And the Warhol case had put to bed the notion that subjective intent matters. It's an Andy Warhol case. It's about whether a particular infringing work constitutes fair use because of what was intended as the design. And what Sotomayor says in the majority there is, it doesn't matter what your subjective intent is.
He had put into the space. He had already, like, this is an,
in sum, subjective intent is not important here. The infringement itself is strict liability, which means it doesn't matter whether you have intent or not with respect to infringement itself. So the underlying legal wrong, infringement, is strict liability. And for the fair use analysis, factor one is not subjective. It's an objective test, not subjective. It's not mind dependent. That's what I mean by subjective here. Factor two is not subjective. It's also about the nature of the work, right? So first is purpose and character of the use. So that is objective analysis. That's what we find out from Warhol. Factor two, nature of the copyrighted work. That is objective, not subjective. It turns on whether the work is like factual, released yet, whether it's creative, etc. It's not a favored factor anyway, but to the extent that it is an objective analysis. Factor three is the amount and substantiality of the work that's used. Again, objective analysis, not about how much you intended to use. It's about how much you used and what you used. And factor four is whether it's a market substitute. Again, not subjective. It's objective. So summing statement here is subjective motivation, not important.
You live in reality. You already know this. So that's clearly what the main difference is.
And by the way, we would totally crush any one of these fools if they were brave enough to have a conversation about it, including Legal Mindset, including Ethan Klein, I offered, including Dan Saltman, including Asmongold. These guys are cowards. They would never actually have a conversation with me about it because they would get crushed.
And he even stated
and Legal Mindset knows who I am, by the way. I saw someone reply to my tweet, and they're like, they don't know who you are, little bro. They know they've talked about me.
It's with Pisco, who's a lawyer. I don't know. But someone brought up, I think there's, someone brought up someone who was defending the orbiters. But the only defense I've heard of the orbiters, and there's one, there's one minor character. I'm not even going to say his name. The chat knows, but I'm not even going to say this guy's name. And he did not actually say they were going to win on the merits, from what I heard. All he said
was the system was broken and it's a systemic problem and it's not fair that people with a lot of money win. That's not saying they're going to win on the merits. So he did not say that they're going to win in court. What he said was the system's not fair.
And so has this other guys that we'll look at in a second.
In the beginning and throughout it multiple times. Yes, and also, and let's assume that's not true. These people are so consumed by like Reddit morality and Reddit logic that they think because he's hypocritical, he can't file a lawsuit.
No, I mean, that's not what they're saying. They're just saying that Ethan is lying about the purpose here. That's what they're saying. I don't think anyone is saying, well, you can't file a lawsuit if you're a hypocrite. They're just calling him out for hypocrisy. Reddit morality. How about don't lie. This guy's such a clown. How does he have a following?
Can you fucking believe that? They're so delusional. They're like, well, we found a flaw in your logic and you're not doing it to them, but you're doing it to these guys, as if somehow that makes the legal case not exist. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. He's just totally misconstruing what people are saying. People like me, for example, who I think I've been one of the iconoclasts in this discussion, because everyone seems to just want to, like, I don't know, for some reason, just say Ethan Klein is the perfect lawsuit. It's the greatest thing ever. It's so epic. But what I've said is it's a strong case of infringement, but he's lying when he says it's to defend the React community. So you can have that take, and many people do.
They think they're in a video. They think they're having a debate.
They think they're in a video game when they say consistent standards. So why should people not have to hold others to their statements? Why should we care if people are lying?
It's Reddit logic. It's just Reddit logic. That's it.
Reddit logic is holding people to their statements, holding creators accountable for not lying. That's Reddit logic. I mean, these guys live in post-truth. They don't give a shit about the truth. They don't have any standards whatsoever. They're dumb as rocks. So yeah, maybe that is a standard.
Runs on emotion, not facts. I agree.
Someone responds, did you know
Some
you're
people
mentioned
do.
in the lawsuit? Just clicked on the first one, skimmed around it, and saw Roman P. So this moderator, this is the head moderator of this subreddit, is named. And they go, oh my God, thank you for telling me. This is the funniest shit ever. I can't believe this. Well, guess what?
Guess what?
Guess what?
What?
It's not going to be funny for them for very long. It's funny for me. It's hilarious for me.
It's funny for me
Then
too.
you've got them over here saying, I can't believe you're outing yourself like this. Classic mistake of criminals returning to the scene of the crime. So, you know, Roman P says, cat's out of the bag, now the real fun begins. So they're pretending they're going to have fun here now that they're named in this lawsuit. This is going to be fun for
Yeah.
them. Certainly this is not going to be fun. We're going to see why. Next, you see here some...
We will build a shield wall.
So far what he's shown is that this guy, this Reddit mod, was named in the lawsuit. All right, so that's what we have so much so far from our good friend Legal Mindset.
All four. When internet activism meets real life. It's sad, isn't it, guys?
Huh? I don't even understand. When internet activism hits real life, does he take the snarking to be internet activism? I don't know that they would call it activism. Maybe. Do you guys think that snarking is activism?
A cast of characters, including a very well-known Hassan Orbiter and Stan here, who's saying, we're going to build a shield wall for you. Roman P thanking this
Thank you.
questionable individual, who is definitely a separate person and not me on just another one of my sock puppet accounts. Well, if that was actually the case and you were this individual, that would be even...
This guy thinks that they can't immediately figure this out in like 3 seconds by subpoenaing his ISP. It's like these people are so stupid.
This is called a joke. So, guys, did you see this? Thank you, Batty Empanada, who definitely is a separate person and not just me on another one of my... So, Asmongold is like, these guys think, actually, that we won't be able to figure out definitively who these people are. It's called a joke, dude. He's being super serious here. And I think that part of this confusion you'll see is potentially just inability to comprehend jokes.
They don't even know how stupid they are. They don't even understand it.
worse for Reddit because it has some negligent hirings, all sorts of other stuff.
Negligent hiring. Negligent hiring. Negligent hiring. Well, what theory of liability are we working on here, Mr. Legal Mindset? So when he says negligent hiring, what the hell is he talking about? He must be talking about a different case, because we're, of course, talking about copyright infringement. And infringement is a strict liability offense. Negligent hiring sounds more like a tort theory of liability. So I have no idea why he would bring up negligent hiring. I mean, unless you have some case law that the doctrine of negligent hiring as a theory of liability is applicable to copyright infringement. And even in this other theory of infringement as to the Reddit mods, where they're like intentionally trying to further the copyright infringement, that obviously requires it being your conscious object to further that end. So this negligent hiring thing, he just puts it out there because that's a concept in law. but it has nothing to do with copyright. And again, I just think that he's applying doctrines where they don't matter. I've never heard of a negligent hiring case related to copyright infringement. Maybe it exists somewhere, but please provide the case law. I mean, this is Legal Mindset's job. What's the case law? What does it actually say about negligent hiring and copyright infringement? You would think that a legal analyst would say like, well, this is the case in which employers can be held liable for the copyright infringement of their employees when they're off the job.
Going on if that was the case. But once again, associating with some questionable characters and then going even further, showing the lawsuit, showing exactly where they are named. So highlighting that user, use/Roman P, which is there amongst others like
the Reddit reckoning.
Right. Salamander and H3 Snark mod team. So they're clearly named in the lawsuit, right? Clearly named in the lawsuit. But here is the real bombshell, folks. Here is the thing that blows this case wide open and can lead to the absolute destruction of Reddit. This could be.
So I'm not making this up. This could lead to the destruction of Reddit. The absolute destruction of Reddit.
Blows this case wide open and can lead to the absolute destruction of Reddit. This could be enough to tear Reddit down. The whole.
I don't know if it's gonna get. I obviously I think this may be a little bit hyperbolic, but
when Asmongold is having to rein you in, bro. Let's watch that again. Look at this.
Salamander and H3 Snark mod team. So they're clearly named in the lawsuit, right? Clearly named in the lawsuit. But here is the real bombshell, folks. Here is the thing that blows this case wide open and can lead to the absolute destruction of Reddit. This could be enough to tear Reddit
What
down.
does that even mean, right? Like, so assume his theory of liability here, that Reddit is on the hook because of negligent hiring, even assuming he is hired. We'll get into that. He himself said that the damages could get up to like, some millions of dollars. Is that going to tear Reddit down a few $1 million on a simple copyright infringement case? Even assuming you could get to millions of dollars of damages, but like even just buy the absurd proposition that Ethan was damaged millions of dollars, or that you'd somehow be able to get statutory damage in that amount for like linking on Reddit the live streams of Denims, Frogan, and Caseytron regarding the content nuke. It's just not that valuable. But even assume that you are so deluded that you believe Legal Mindset that the liability here is millions of dollars, like a few $1 million. That's going to tear Reddit down. Only an insane person, only a total insane person would have that take.
In the lawsuit, right? Clearly named in the lawsuit. But here is the real bombshell, folks. Here is the thing that blows this case wide open and can lead to the absolute destruction of Reddit. This could be enough to tear Reddit down. The whole.
I don't know if it's gonna get. I obviously I think this may be a little bit hyperbolic, but I mean, please, I've had my hopes destroyed too many times. I don't know if I can believe another dream.
So you want Reddit to be destroyed over some copyright infringement shit? Can you imagine that, by the way, how much these crybabies would go in front of a camera and just they're censoring me, this copyright infringement, we're not gonna stand, if they were the targets of this kind of like copyright infringement lawsuit shit? If all of a sudden all of the content creators that Asmongold and XQC have been stealing from for years filed lawsuits against them, they're trying to silence me, bros. Like, but you want Reddit to be destroyed because what? Because you don't agree with them politically? I thought you guys were free speech bros.
Institution, if
but let's
he
hear
decides to pursue it,
but let's hear it
aggressively, which he has no reason not to at this point.
Okay, let's hear
Let's
it.
flip over here. Let's flip over here.
There's a head
You
Reddit
have
mod.
an admission, a 100% confession.
A 100% confession. So maybe this Roman P guy is a Reddit employee. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. This feels like a joke to me. But to say it's 100% confirmed confession beyond the bounds of comprehension, that he says not concerned balancing working at Reddit and being the head moderator for H3 Sark has been kind of stressful though. Maybe he's being honest. Maybe he's being honest. Maybe this is a confession that he works at Reddit. So what? So what? How does him working at Reddit relate to the copyright infringement case? What fact of consequence is turned by the fact that they're working at Reddit, if they are working at Reddit? There's nothing, right? Like what? This is not a case about harassment. This is not a case about doxing. This is a copyright infringement case. Reddit is not a party to the lawsuit. If Ethan Klein wants to amend his lawsuit to include Reddit, I mean, I guess he's more than welcome. Denims would probably be delighted to have that happen. My guess is he won't do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but my guess is he won't amend the complaint to include Reddit as a defendant. And so even when you're just thinking about them soying out like, oh my God, he's an employee of Reddit, like you just stop for 2 seconds. As a lawyer, I would like, so? Even if it were true, even if this is not a joke, Reddit is not a party. You're not alleging, what you're alleging is copyright infringement. So why would it be acceptable to broaden this into, is Reddit discriminating against Ethan Klein at all? We're going to get into all the communications of Reddit employees. That's not proportional or relevant to the scope of the lawsuit, which is a simple infringement case. So anytime a Reddit employee is involved in any kind of dispute, you're able to go in to get like Reddit records. It's insanity. It's insanity.
Right here, they're saying concern level for you. This whole thing is so odd. Roman P, once again, the head moderator, saying not concerned at all, balancing working at Reddit and being the head moderator for H3 Snark has kind of been stressful though.
So this guy who was already joking about alts, he's like 100%, and then look at Asmongold's face. And so now, in your head, Asmongold said Reddit broke the law. Legal Mindset said Reddit is legally cooked. What are they alleging Reddit did? He's in a second going to go through like vicarious liability. But what is the legal wrong here? That Reddit as an organization, I mean, working at Reddit could mean sweeping at the Reddit headquarters. It could mean working for some other, I don't know, marketing for Reddit. It could mean any number of things. There's no reason to think the doctrine of vicarious liability would extend to Reddit, the organization, just based on a mere employment. And even if it did, what are we talking about here more broadly? Infringement. That's what the case is about. The cause of action is infringement. And I want to stress again, Reddit is not a party to the lawsuit. Ethan has not sued Reddit. So to the extent that there is vicarious liability, that would maybe matter if Reddit were a defendant, which of course they're not. And to Josh's point, it could also be a fucking joke. So on every level, it's cringe. On the level of the damages are millions of dollars, it's cringe. On the level of assuming the damages are that much, it would destroy and collapse Reddit, it's cringe. On the level of, well, the doctrine of vicarious liability and negligent hiring is cringe. Why? Because Reddit's not a defendant. On the level of proposing to amend the complaint to include Reddit as a defendant, cringe, because that would be a bad idea, in my honest opinion. And on the level of, maybe this is just a fucking joke because the guy's a memer and a troll and member of a Snark subreddit. And maybe you just showed him joking about something before, which I guess maybe you guys took seriously. So maybe there's a little bit of too fast of an assumption that this is 100% serious confession by this guy, such that it's 100% a confession beyond comprehension. So says Legal Mindset. Klein has filed a motion for judicial approval to issue subpoenas. Yeah. This is to find the defendants. It's not to, so this is a subpoena to a third party, in this case Reddit, to find out information about the defendants, not to find out information about Reddit. This is to name the moderators, not to go after Reddit. Reddit is not a party. And look at Asmongold's reaction, dude.
Why would you say that?
These guys are
He's
so dumb.
Why would you say this? Oh my God. It's shocking that somebody could be that stupid.
We have a confession right in front of everybody, in front of God and everybody, that the head moderator is a Reddit employee, is working at Reddit. This person, which has civil liability now and potential, and once again, once we dig, there
criminal liability,
criminal stuff that comes out. Who knows, right?
There might be criminal stuff that comes out.
They are on the hook for this. And they have put
Reddit is
in a horrible position, particularly because we had the separate filing disclosure where we had Reddit admins offering us free subscriptions to privacy software to remove our PII from the internet in case we're doxxed and harassed. So
the Reddit admins were helping them to evade the law. Oh my God.
How? So I want to show you guys what this thing says. His face is covering it. To the point that Reddit admins offered us free subscriptions to privacy software that would blah, 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 in case we are doxxed and harassed by the outcome of this lawsuit. Guys, this is not saying that Reddit was trying to evade or violate the terms of some preservation order or notice. That's insanity. Just because they're saying, hey, here's some software to help you, undox yourself by the outcome of the lawsuit. So on the one hand, it's talking about the outcome of the lawsuit, like the effect of the lawsuit, not about evidence that is essential to the lawsuit or that is, discovery information or anything like that. And it's talking basically about removing it from third parties who have no self-standing obligation to preserve all records. And only an idiot would say, yeah, I'm going to interpret this as them trying to violate the preservation requirements of litigation. It doesn't say that. We're doing this. We're offering you private. I mean, this would be like, all right, if you're selling this software or something and someone is trying to do it for this purpose, are you helping them evade this? No, why should I be on the hook if you decide to use this software, whatever it is, to violate your discovery obligations or to violate your, evidentiary obligations? I'm going to sell this to you I'm going to give this to you without any intent that you violate court orders. Why would we assume that they're doing so in a way to violate the preservation requirements of litigation? It's just a assumption that's stupid. And even in the sentence, it says the outcome of the litigation, of the lawsuits.
Maybe this actually is bad for Reddit. I mean, that's insane.
It says, in the case we are doxxed and harassed by the outcome of these lawsuits, right? An outcome is the thing at the end, right? Thing that happens at the end of something. And none of this is saying, well, we're not going to preserve our documents. This is to remove PII from the internet, not remove PII or remove or delete our documents that we're under preservation order to maintain, right? Do you understand that? So in many different respects, this is a stupid conclusion to draw. First is the notion that Reddit would be on the hook for this at all, for just offering like freely available software or whatever, or giving them, discounts or free subscriptions to privacy software. Second, that this statement, which is directed at removing PII from the internet, that would include an intent to destroy documents in the possession of the mods themselves, which are under preservation notices, I'm assuming. And then finally, the fact that it says, in the case that we are doxxed and harassed by the outcome of these lawsuits, which I think is ambiguous enough to at least not be this, oh my God, stunning admission. But to interpret this as, yeah, Reddit is trying to make us evade our discovery obligations is so dumb.
So if there's evidence that they're trying to intentionally obfuscate, like,
he doesn't know shit.
Oh
Look at him.
my God. Can you believe that Reddit is actually, all of the Reddit employees seem to be Redditors? Roman P has deleted all Reddit activity last few hours since I visited their profile. I'm going to pull it up after this.
This is called scrubbing evidence. They're
Yes, it
deleting
is.
evidence.
This is called scrubbing evidence. So removing PII from the internet, that should be understood as necessarily violating your discovery obligations and your preservation. I think that is so stupid, so silly, not true.
Spoliation of evidence.
Yes.
Oh,
This is
no.
potentially criminal.
Yes,
No
and
way.
even
No.
doing so,
No.
and this is
No,
another
no,
thing
no, no.
too, doing so in anticipation of evidence being part of a discovery process of a case is the same thing. It actually, in some ways, it's worse. So even if you do it before they issue the subpoena of like discovery, it doesn't matter. It's still considered bad.
And we want to know, is this the admin, Roman P, the employee of Reddit, that was offering the PII software? Are there others involved? These are all things that Ethan Klein can now dig into freely. His lawyers and Ethan Klein's infinite money
Oh my
glitch
God.
can go.
Why? Right? Think about this. Why? The only reason you're getting access to these materials from Reddit are to discover who these people are. But I want to stress again, this is a copyright infringement lawsuit. So discovering their identity will open themselves up to further proceedings and presumably like valid service of process, etc. But to what extent does this bear on the copyright infringement case? No analysis is offered by why that would be encompassed and why it would matter to the ultimate disposition of this case. This case has to do with actions that were public, with streams that were public, with Reddit posts that were public, for which there's a record already. What's the need for large amounts of discovery here? It's an infringement case, folks. You're not alleging harassment as a cause of action. You're alleging infringement. So the scope of discovery is tailored to the claims, to the theories, to the cause of action, which isn't this wide sweeping conspiracy theory. It is despite the unhinged, voluminous pleadings, it is a fairly narrow copyright claim.
Go out there and dig into this.
Oh my God, bro. That's insane.
I think it's insane that this guy gets hundreds of thousands of views per video.
Infinite money glitch? Yeah.
For what?
Ethan might just own Reddit.
Think about how delusional, unhinged the destruction of Reddit, because Reddit offered free subscriptions to privacy software. What? When there's nothing implied in the statement that they were trying to evade the preservation requirements.
He didn't delete anything. He just put his profile on private. Really?
And figure this out. And in case you guys understand the legal concept here, because of course we're on the legal mindset.
Yeah, you would think that we'd have a lot of legal concepts on the legal mindset, and you talk about things that sound legal. But look, he now has a slide here that says vicarious liability. Employers are responsible for harmful actions of employees, even if not directly at fault. We have additional proof that Reddit admins provided software to the mods to destroy evidence. This opens up Reddit as a whole to both discovery and liability. For what? For what? They are not parties to any lawsuit. There are no allegations as to Reddit, the organization. Until there's an amended complaint, how would this open them up to infringement liability? What's the cause of action? His notion of the opening up of the flood of discovery here is just vibes. Oh, this guy seems to be a Reddit employee, so I can target Reddit with a bunch of discovery requests, even though they're not named parties in the lawsuit. And I can try to push them as potential havers of liability, even though they're not named in the lawsuit. The doctrine of vicarious liability wouldn't be relevant if they're not parties to the lawsuit. And again, I think it's not likely that Ethan was going to name them as the defendant here. Ted versus Reddit.
We are always both educational and entertaining, which is why, by the way, this is a fast facts video, the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. Make sure you like the video and leave a comment below if you like this type of content and you like us exposing giant leaks like this.
That guy just posted on Reddit that he's moving to Argentina.
Leaks, a leak. I mean, we're redefining what words are. This was a leak, a public posting where he says, I work at Reddit, possibly as a joke. That's a leak. A massive leak.
No.
It's a massive leak.
No, he didn't. No, I don't believe that. As if, and by the way, even if
and
that
by the way, to destroy evidence,
happens, it doesn't even, no way.
Let's get into this. Vicarious liability. What does that mean? And of course, I'm very familiar with this as a corporate attorney. I still am a practicing corporate attorney. Employers are responsible for the harmful actions of employees, even if not directly at fault. So this is one of the reasons why in the recent times, people should be firing dangerous employees, because
he's completely right about this. Yeah, and I didn't know about the OSHA stuff either, but yeah, of course this is the case. I mean, anybody, like, how many times have you guys heard on the radio while you're driving around, have you ever been hit by a company vehicle? Call Bill at 4444444.
Yeah, in the scope of their employee duties. But I just very much doubt that the scope of his duties as being a Reddit employee involve posting about H3. In what sense are the scope of his duties as an employee of Reddit, like posting about H3, linking people to specific content? What are the odds that he's employed in a scope of duty where this would be relevant? I don't know. Has he cited a single case law of vicarious liability with respect to copyright infringement? Maybe he has. I can imagine like a movie studio or something. If they're infringing on some other content, you can get the movie studio for infringing if they're working off the employees or whatever. But like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy on his private snark account, like linking to some shit. In what sense, right, is that Reddit? Even if you were to assume that Reddit were a party to this case, and again, I want to stress again, they're not a party to the case. So vicarious liability is totally irrelevant until he amends the complaint, because you're not suing Reddit. But again, even if assuming this bizarre theory, in what sense would his activities on his private snark account relate to his employee duties at Reddit? Who might not even be an actual employee because it's a joke, right?
That's all you have to remember. Fours, and Bill is gonna get your money. Bill gets a lot of money, and he can get your money too. And you know how Bill gets the money? By suing the company and not the driver. So you know this shit's real.
You know this is real.
dangerous
You
employee,
know
let's say
this
you're
is
a
real. You
violent-
know this makes sense because there's a lot of ads for employers having liability. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that this case there's likely to be vicarious liability. And again, remember, in those hit and run cases, in those slip and fall cases, in those whatever cases, they're wanting you to sue the company. So this doctrine is going to be unavailing if you don't actually sue them.
employee.
And until you do, I don't understand how it opens. Again, even the discovery that this person is. I understand that they have a subpoena, a third-party subpoena against Reddit, but that's just to get the identity of these people. And why would you put yourself out on the limb like this, legal mindset, by accusing Reddit of doing something illegal, just based on the words of this person? Why not just like tailor your statements a little bit more and not just believe everything you read on the internet before it's proven in court?
a crazy employee. You don't want those employees around because of vicarious liability,
That's right.
because you can
That's
be
right.
responsible for the actions of those employees.
Done in the scope of their duties.
If they go out
Absolutely. And especially, this is what could even make it worse, if they knew about it. Because that's really what happens is that, and this is how like a lot of the like massive settlements for like sexual abuse end up happening. This is my understanding. And obviously, you know, Andrew knows more about this than I do, but my understanding of it is that
Andrew,
one of the
they're on the
big
first name
reasons why
basis?
the settlements get so big is because there was already prior knowledge that this was an issue and it wasn't dealt with and they didn't care. And so not only is it happening, but it had a
Why is this relevant to an infringement case? This pattern of like abuse that was occurring as between like employees, where there's potentially like a negligent hiring theory that's premised on, I don't know, assaults that are taking place in a corporate context. Yeah, maybe, you know, there's some more there, but this is a simple infringement case and you're going off the rails.
pattern of happening and they allowed it to happen. That's really
something
bad.
crazy, you might be on the
Continued
line
negligence,
for them.
exactly.
Just like this, exactly like this. If you have an unhinged Reddit mod, which once again is a
don't have to
massive,
repeat
massive
yourself.
risk, if it's somebody like this,
Yeah.
you've got to fire them. You've got to get rid of them because
Absolutely.
they've now endangered your entire company.
Yes.
All of Reddit is at stake.
Yes, it's at that point, it's no longer the decision of, it's no longer a value decision. It's just a legal obligation that you have to fulfill in order to protect the nature of the company. No emotions, no feelings, no who's right and who's wrong or who deserved it.
These guys are such
You just have to
clowns.
do it. That's just the way it is.
Because of what they've done. They're completely open to discovery. They're completely open
Completely
to
open.
liability. And because of
Liability
this proof
for
that they
what?
provided that software,
Liability for what, sir?
they're going to be on the line for potentially a massive amount.
A massive amount for what? For offering software to people to take personally identifying information off the internet? Like if people start releasing like, I don't know, your address, or your like social security number, how could that be relevant in an infringement case such that you would be destroying evidence? Has this guy even thought about it 1%? The statement clearly encompasses PII. In what sense is PII relevant evidence in a copyright infringement case?
And once again, getting that liability and discovery could destroy Reddit as a company. But what do you...
It could destroy Reddit as a company, said unironically. And people on the internet and on Twitter have been using this guy's judgment. Does this show good judgment that someone can be like, yes, Reddit might go down because of this? Does that show someone who's hinged, someone who has Calibrated legal takes, no citations ever to any case law whatsoever. Millions of dollars. This could destroy Reddit. Spoliation of evidence.
They're going to be on the line for potentially a massive amount.
Massive. What do you mean massive?
And once again, getting that liability and discovery could destroy Reddit as a company. But what do you guys think about it?
Unhinged, delusional. And by the way, if it happened, I mean, wouldn't you guys be pretty pissed if Reddit were destroyed because of Ethan Klein's copyright lawsuit about content nuke? That's the goal here. The goal here is to silence Redditors. Okay, now you got me. Now I'm listening.
Do you guys think Reddit is going to go down?
I don't think Reddit is going to go down, but I think that what
The
could
voice of reason here is Asmongold right now.
happen is that. So this is my scenario that Reddit could be negatively affected. Is that as soon as Reddit is discovered to have been cooperating and involved with a lot of this identity assassination, character assassination.
Hey, Asmon, it's not a defamation case. Why would there be discovery about character assassination stuff? It's about copyright, bro.
Defamation, like
It's not, defamation is not being alleged.
Reddits and statements, and then running all this stuff.
And also, by the way, Section 230 is going to be there for some of the defamation stuff, to the extent that, like, wait, is Reddit promulgated material that's defamatory? They have Section 230 protections.
Themselves from the top down, then they effectively are voiding their accountability from Section 230, because not only are they're not a platform, they're publishing it themselves.
And then there's a platform publisher. That means this guy doesn't know about Section 230. He doesn't know the legal terminology. That's an instant indication that these are lay people, which we already knew, but it's always good to have that confirmed.
The company's doing it themselves. Gawker, yeah. I think Gawker is a good example. Gawker was a massive company, a huge company.
Gawker was a publication. Gawker was sued for publishing information about a person as an online newspaper. Completely different.
TMZ kind of. And they effectively did something similar to this, not one-to-one. It's actually not that similar, but it's kind of similar. And this is with like publishing Peter Thiel's sex tape. And Peter Thiel couldn't sue them entirely, but Hulk Hogan could. Peter Thiel funded Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker and ended and destroyed the entire company because Gawker outed Peter Thiel.
Based on substantive violations of law and liability, but nothing like that is being even alleged as to, I mean, what is being alleged as to Reddit? This is a little unhinged that you would allege illegal conduct from Reddit with this amount of proof. The proof is a guy said that he was employed at Reddit, probably a joke, maybe not, and there's an infringement case and some nothing statement about privacy software for personally identified information, which is not relevant to the copyright infringement case. That there's alleged a conversation there, and you're going to the races and saying this is like Gawker, Reddit's going down. Insanity.
For being gay. And so that was it. Hogan dropped the leg on him, bro. yeah, he did. He went wild on him. And Cash already said they need to go back over Section 230 for social media. Yeah, Cash has said a lot of things. I'm more interested in what he does. But that's a much smaller list.
Yeah, Cash is he's said a lot of things. Like he's gonna get rid of Section 230. A law? I didn't know the FBI director could, delete statutes of Congress. I didn't know that the FBI director could void the Communication Decencies Act. That's a new one to me. I mean, these Trump guys have 2 brain cells.
Now, isn't it? Anyway, my point is that if this is happening with Ethan Klein, what do you think the probability is that it's happened with other people also? Well, I know what the probability is. 100%.
What?
Absolutely.
That this happened? What's this? You haven't even defined what this is. 100%. Reddit, wait. They hired a guy who did a promotion of a stream, which was copyright infringement, and then 100% gave those people privacy software to remove PII from the internet, depending on the outcome of the lawsuits. Huh? That's what I mean. Like, these guys, they're like cavemen. They just Reddit bad, Ethan good, Hassan bad, Reddit bad, and they're just like saying feelings. It's the most emotional type of content I've ever seen. They don't go over facts, they just go over feelings. There's no facts here, it's just feelings. This is more emotional than any stream about, I don't know what to say. What's the comparison here? It's more emotional than Vanderpump Rules drama. It's more emotional than Scandival.
Of course. Like, you really think Ethan is the only person who's been a victim of this ever that's happened? And so as soon as it's discovered, you're going to be having
victim of this.
A lot of other people
of what?
That are going to be trying to file the same types of lawsuits against it could be a
copyright infringement class action for what?
Class action lawsuit, whenever you have employees that are involved, especially whenever they're posting things that are verifiably false and just totally defamatory statements. Because it's one thing if it's just a random person posting it on your...
Like, we don't even have a statement, right? Like, defamation, one of the key elements is a false statement. Asmon hasn't even described any statement, let alone a false one. Reddit's definitely did this to someone else. Oh, they were defamatory? Well, what statements? What kind of things did they say? He hasn't even described the kind of things that Reddit has said, allegedly, about Ethan. This is all just feelings and just total vibes. It's crazy. It's crazy.
On your website. It's another thing if your employees are sanctioning it and facilitating.
Listen, you don't have to... If you want to do this whole credential thing, I'm not talking about credentials right now. I'm not saying I'm better than them in the sense of like I'm a better person. I think I'm a better person. But that's not what my argument is being based on. It's being based on facts and logic, brah. So if you have an issue with the things I'm saying, why don't you address the things I'm saying and not like who I am as a person? Maybe address the substance of what I'm saying, that these guys are totally delulu.
It, which is what the big difference here is.
Would you like to see Reddit go down? I want to know what you think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
unironic.
Oh my God. Like whenever I heard this video, or I heard about this, I assumed, or I read the title of the video, I was like, there's no way. But this actually could be the first domino of very many. And I think that's really kind of what's going to happen, right? And YouTube, yeah, this is really, really bad. There's no way to verify he's a real employee for now. What?
What?
You realize, like, I mean, what do you what? You think you can't figure that out?
He says right now you can't verify that he's real. Listen to what does he not remember what just was said?
What? Could be the first domino of very many. And I think that's really kind of what's going to happen, right?
What?
And YouTube, yeah, this is really, really bad. There's no way to verify he's a real employee for now.
For now. So he very clearly says, for now. What?
What? You realize, like, I mean, what do you what? You think you can't figure that out?
Yeah, for now you can't. You have to wait.
Really? Like, I mean, do you I think that there's a lot of people that don't understand the breadth of tools and resources that the government has in order to investigate different situations.
Yeah, the FBI's on this.
You have no fucking idea. They would figure that out in like an hour. Really? Like an hour. Think about how you would. They named him in the legal papers. Yeah. HR has to verify it. Yeah, of course. And he fell to LSF Claybook. Yeah, you can, but his message says nothing. That's what he meant. His message implies that he worked with them. And if he's stating that
yeah, no one doubts that. The question is he just telling a joke?
He worked with them, and then it's defined that he's an employee. Is that not probable cause to pull every fucking...
Probable cause? Now he's conflating like the criminal standards for a warrant.
Message he has. Because
for every message? Why? Why would you get that? I want to remind everybody here that when you get in discovery, the discovery needs to be tailored to the claims at issue in the case. You get me? So you get responsive documents. That's what you're looking for, responsive documents. And responsiveness is in terms of whether they relate to the cause of action. So why would you get all his messages that don't relate to the video posting? And also, why would you get any of those messages either? I mean, maybe there's a theory of you need to like have some evidence of intent for this particular theory of the Reddit mod, but I'm not sure how that includes this wide sweeping like defamation claim or the wide sweeping harassment campaign stuff. That's just not included in the lawsuit.
I certainly think it does. And I think that any judge and any jury and any lawyer would agree with that. It's obvious. The guy's saying he's working with them. Obviously, you should figure out whether he's working with them, right? It's common fucking sense. And so this is one phone call. Yeah, this is instantaneous. Look at private investigator Stephen Rabbaum and Hope Conference. They can damn near any information they want. Yeah, of course. Look at the crazy video Eric Daughtry just posted. Yeah, I can look at it in a second, but yeah, I don't know really what that is. The question is whether is Ethan that vindictive? I think that if Ethan wants to go after this and do it, I mean, like I've talked to Ethan a little bit. Like I haven't really organized.
Oh my God, this is one of the most unhinged Twitter accounts of all time. We are cooked as a country, folks. If our people are following this loser fuck, we're unhinged. That's why you got to follow me, folks. You got to follow me. I think he's over with this analysis shit. But this just goes to show you, and just to sum it up and wrap it up real quick, that YouTube deserves a better class of legal commentator on these issues. And I'm going to give it to him. This bombshell, alleged bombshell, doesn't open up Reddit to tons and tons of liability. Reason number one, they're not a party to the case. And there's no indication that they're going to be made a party to the case, because ultimately this theory of vicarious liability is tenuous at best and premised on a scope of employment that we have no idea about, because literally all we're going off is potentially a joke given by the Reddit mod in question. Number two, this is not a big bombshell because it's not that much money. There is no way, no shot, no how that the amount of money at issue in Ethan Klein's lawsuit is millions of dollars. And even if it were $2 or $3 million of dollars, this would not destroy Reddit as we know it. And number three, this whole statement about spoliation of evidence and destruction of evidence is nothing more than a laughingstock. The PII at issue is not conceivably like relevant to the claims at issue in this case. The statement doesn't imply that they would use the software in such a way to violate their preservation requirements. And it seems to be tailored to the potential of a doxing or harassment campaign following the outcome of the lawsuits, or if that's the outcome of the lawsuits. So all of that to me indicates that this is a nothing burger. Perhaps he's an employee of Reddit, and perhaps that would lead to some, I don't know, interesting political conversation or streaming conversation or whatever you want to say. But the cause of action in this case is infringement, ultimately. That's the cause of action. And they're not alleging defamation. And I doubt Ethan Klein wants to include Reddit. So anyone who wants it, the hundreds of thousands of people who watch this coverage, either through Hassan or through Legal Mindset, you were just given a bunch of schlock. It's basically a bunch of bullshit that you were fed for no reason other than to get your clicks. No cases were cited, no examples in which this kind of situation has emerged in the past, and no indication contrary to Asmongold's suggestion that this would start a movement or start some kind of escalating series of bad situations for Reddit, similar to Gawker. So yeah, hold your horses. All right, guys. It would mean the world to me if you followed me on TikTok and on Instagram, Pisco. I'm always going to give you my honest take. I'm not just in it to defend one partisan side versus the other. I'm here to give what I think is a calibrated, rational take based on facts and most of all logic. But yeah, follow me on TikTok, Instagram if you have those platforms. If not, drop a like when you can. I love you guys very much. You're the best. Video out tomorrow. Hope you like it.